So if you're looking for off-market commercial real estate such as self-storage, mobile home parks, RV parks, boring businesses, you probably are like me when I first started and you don't really know how to find these off-market deals. Well, fortunately for you, I've actually paid for mentorships and I've spent a lot of time researching on reading books and listening to podcasts and doing my own kind of due diligence to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I've put together a system that makes it super easy for you to find these off-market deals. Now, first, I'm going to show you this system that's totally free that you can actually do today. So if you have access to a computer and a phone and an internet connection, then you can actually start finding these off-market deals today and start making the calls. And I'm actually going to walk you through making calls to sellers and what that looks like and what to say to these people. So you're going to want to make sure that you stick around for the whole entirety of this video. But before we get into that, I want to show you a real life example of a deal that my team recently found. So the purchase price on this is $1.9 million. It's a mom and pop owned facility that is severely mismanaged and it is very below market rents and there's room for expansion here. It's totally occupied right now and they do absolutely no marketing, no web presence, no signage even for this facility. And if we look at our competitors' pricing, we're charging $55 for a 10 by 10. The average is a 75. On a 10 by 15, we're charging 70. The average is 82. So on and so forth. 85 for a 10 by 20. The average is 93. So if we do our value add component to this property and we do our expansion play, within 3 years, we will have added $1 million of value and equity to this property, and we paid $1.9 million for it. This is the beauty of commercial real estate, is how quickly you can build and really elevate your portfolio and add value to your properties in just a short matter of time. All right, now let's dive into how exactly we can find these deals on our own. So what you're going to want to do is head on over to Google Maps. So go to google.com/maps, and then this will take you to exactly where you need to be. So let's just say that I am looking for self-storage facilities in Bend, Oregon. So I'll come over here and do Bend, Oregon self-storage facilities. Now, what a lot of people don't know about is Google Maps is a really great lead tool for finding these deals. Google has tons of data on all of these businesses and it works really well. So all you have to do is determine which ones of these facilities match your buy box and what you would actually want to purchase. So I like to come over to the satellite view here and actually determine if these ones match my buy box and what I'm looking for. So here, Empire Mini Storage, I'm looking for things that are probably just a little bit bigger. And I know that this one's probably a little too small for me, but here's how you can easily measure the square footage of these properties. So you can measure the distance here from that corner to that corner to this corner to that corner. And here we see that this is about 5,000 square feet. Then we know that this building's a little bit smaller, so it's probably around, 4,000 square feet. So 5 and 4, that's 9,000 square feet. Looks like they've got some ancillary buildings right here. So potentially it's around 10 to 12,000 square feet. I'm looking for something a little bit larger. So let's see what else might match my criteria. Jameson Self-Storage. This one looks really interesting. So let's measure this building and see what kind of square footages we have here to see if something this actually matches our buy box in our criteria. So this is 10,000 square feet. So I know that if I add this one and this one, we're getting close to probably 18,000. And then this alone, that's a really large building. So I know that this is going to be a big enough building. That's one that I'm actually going to want to work and call. And if you do this enough, you don't even have to total area. So this is 32,000 square feet right here. It's a huge square footage for self-storage. So if you do this enough, you can look at these properties and you can determine, this is definitely something that matches my buy box and my criteria. It's something that I would be interested in. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're looking at these businesses, you typically don't want to buy ones that are owned by REITs or large operators Because if it's owned by a REIT or a large operator, they're less likely to sell to you. We really want to go after these ma and pop storage facilities that are, a higher likelihood of selling to you, right? Because typically they're owned by some older folks that are getting ready to possibly retire, or they want to do something different and get out of the storage business. And those are the people that we really want to try and find here, especially when it comes to self-storage. So now the next step, what I like to do is I like to take this information that we get from Google Maps and I like to put it into a spreadsheet that I've created. Now keep in mind, this is the old method, the way that I used to do things. And you can absolutely still use this method today. It still works. It just is going to take you a fair bit longer than the new method that I have kind of created and came up with that speeds up this entire process. But I want to show you guys what you guys came for, which is the free method, right? Which, it still works. So here on Google for Jameson Street Self-Storage, we have our phone number and we get the name of the business, the website. So we get all this information from Google Maps. So I like to take this information and I like to put it into a spreadsheet. So on the facility name, I'll put in the name of this business, which is Jameson Self Street Storage. So this spreadsheet is it's a Google sheet, and you could make one just like this, and it just basically allows you to track your leads and keep things more organized. So now we've added that. Now let's add in our phone number for this business. So it's Jameson Street Self Storage. So we'll add in 541-318-8900. So you can click to copy that. So as you can tell, this does take a little bit of time to add in this information. So phone number, facility phone number, right there. So we'll add in that. And then also we want to add in the website for this. So website, where is the website? Right there. And then has a website. I like to track if these businesses have a website, because if they don't have a website, then that means that there is a likelihood that it could potentially be mismanaged or not marketed very well, which is a value add component to it, right? So then there's some other things that I look for. So is it over 35,000 square feet? Remember, we measured it and it was. It's over 100 units because it's going to be over 35,000 square feet, which is typically over 100 units. It's off market, so off market. And is there room for expansion? So let's look here on Google Maps. So it doesn't really look like you could really expand anything on this property. So I would just state that, yeah, there's not really room for expansion here. These are all things that are good to know, right? Because if there's room for expansion, that means we could potentially pay more for it and it's more valuable. Off market, typically off market deals are better. Elderly owner. So this is something that I track, and I like to know if the sellers that I'm speaking to are elderly, because like I mentioned, elderly owners are more likely to sell their business. So it's something that you can prioritize and focus more on those leads when it comes time for your follow-up. So now we can click into this facility's website and see if we can't pick out a email that we can reach out to this business as well. So here we have a phone number for a manager. So we could also take that information and put that into our database. But here we have Tammy Brown, the manager. We'll take this email for the storage email, and then we'll put that under facility email. All right, so that's added in there just like that. The facility address. So if we want to do mailers or anything like that, we could potentially come back and hit this. So as you can tell, there's a lot of information that we kind of need to gather here before, we really start making our calls here. But it's important to have this information so when you start having a ton of leads, in your database here, you can actually organize them in something that makes sense. So obviously this is for self-storage, but the same thing applies for any other type of asset that you're working. So if it's mobile home parks, if it is RV parks, if it is boring businesses, laundromats, car washes, like on a laundromat, you might want to track, how many, machines that the property has, if there's room to maybe expand to add more machines in, so on and so forth. Same thing for like mobile home parks, how many pads, how many occupied pads are on there, tenant-owned homes, park-owned homes, things like that. And you can kind of put this together in a spreadsheet. And this is, it's free. Anybody can get this information. Anybody can put a spreadsheet together and gather this type of information here. So now, let's see if we missed anything. So this is other information that I like to gather and track. So notes when I do my call, total units when, if I'm speaking to the seller and actually get that information from them, under 35,000 square feet. So that way I know, if it's something that doesn't quite match my buy box, the owner's first name, the owner's last name. So when I'm talking to them, I can typically, sometimes get the owner's first and last name, but if not, I'll get that from skip tracing, and I'll kind of walk you guys through like the skip tracing process and what exactly that looks like. I'm not going to dive super deep into the skip tracing aspect of it because you can spend just a whole 2-3 hours just going over skip tracing. So I'll just kind of briefly walk you through like how I would potentially do that. Manager or worker's name. So we actually got this from the website, which is Tammy Brown right here, but typically you'll actually get that when you're on the phone with the individual when you call like the business up. So spoke to, like, did you speak to a manager when you called up this business? Did you speak to an employee? Did you speak to the owner? And then you can put date of call or when to follow up here. And then if you've confirmed the owner's phone number, so say you're talking to the manager and they actually give you the owner's phone number, or the owner themselves are the ones that picks up the phone, you can get that callback number for that owner, and you can put that that's the confirmed owner phone number there. Same thing with owner email. And then you can put family members. You skip trace all the family members, put all of their information down here, so on and so forth. Owner contact information, all that here. Multiple phone numbers, emails, things of that nature, you can put down all here on this spreadsheet. So clearly you can add in a lot of this information, which is going to make your deal hunting process easier to track things, right? But as you can tell, if you start adding a lot of leads and a lot of information into this database, it's going to get hard to follow up. And the most important thing about this whole process is really like how great your follow-up is and how well you can keep on this. So I actually have a high team, or a highly trained team of virtual assistants that do this for me. But let's just say that, we are ready to actually call this lead. So there's a few scenarios you might come across when you're making these phone calls. The first scenario might be when you're actually calling the facility or the business and you speak to someone that you don't know who's on the other end. It could be a manager, it could be an employee, or it could be the owner. So in scenario one, you typically want to follow a script that looks something like this. Hi there, I've been trying to reach the owner. Are they by chance available? The whole point of the entire script and the whole point of this sales process is you're really trying to get the owner on the phone, because the owner is the ultimate decision maker and the person that can actually tell you if, hey, I actually, do want to sell this business, or no, I don't want to sell this business. So you can follow this script here, and typically this can help you get through that decision maker here. So someone might want to know, like, hey, why are you trying to reach the owner? And you can say something along the lines of like, yeah, I'm actually an investor. I'm in the process of buying a few, insert your business type here, self-storage, mobile home parks in the area. And I just want to see if the owner would be willing to review a full price offer for that business. So the reason that you're saying a full price offer is like, a full price offer doesn't necessarily mean you're overpaying for this business. It means a full price offer based upon your criteria of what you buy these businesses at. But we want to make it sound good enough that the manager or the employee is willing to put the owner on the phone. And if they say, okay, yeah, that actually sounds like something we'd be interested in, then it's like, okay, well, how do I actually contact this owner? Or they might give some pushback or say like, what's the offer? Why do you speak with the owner first? And then you can just simply say, well, I just need to briefly chat with the owner just to answer a few questions for me to be able to make the highest offer possible. These are these kind of objections that these managers or employees might try and throw out at you. But you really want to speak to the owner here. If they respond, no, not sure, or just call back, you can say something along the lines of, sure, I can call back, but we want to make sure who who we know that we're talking to here. Were we talking to the owner? Were we talking to the manager? And then, when they tell you who they were, then write their name down as well so we can record that in our spreadsheet. So if we call that business back during a follow-up, because the follow-up is truly one of the most important parts of this entire thing here, we want to make sure that we can reference that when we make our callback. Also, you can leave your contact information with them. And typically I get phone calls all the time from this by leaving my contact information with the employee or the manager, and then the owner will actually call me back later. So the whole point of this right here is, we just have to navigate these gatekeepers, these employees and these managers to speak to these businesses so we can get speak to these business owners so we can get the decision maker on the line, which is, almost always going to be the owner here. So in scenario 2, this is like if we were actually speaking to the owner of this business. So you'd say something along the lines of like, "Hi there, this is Cody. I've been trying to reach the owner of Jameson Street Storage. Are they by chance available?" And then if you're actually talking to the owner, or they put the owner on the phone, "Oh, that's great. Hi, Mr. Owner. I'm actually an investor. I'm in the process of buying a few, self-storage facilities in the area. I wanted to see if you'd actually be willing to review a full price offer for Jameson Street Storage." And, typically, they're going to be interested in hearing that. Some might not be. Some, might, shut you down, whatever. But, I actually just keep following up with those people, even when they say that or not. But that's getting ahead of myself here. So then, if they say they're interested, I like to gather some information on these businesses, and then I actually make an offer to these businesses right here on the phone with a system that I've created, FuelPoint, and I'll go into that later, which shows you actually how I've automated and made this whole system 10 times easier and did away with the spreadsheet and all that, but don't want to get ahead of myself here. But what might happen sometimes too is they're like, "No, we don't want to review a full price offer," or anything like that. So, you could say something along the lines of, "Well, no worries. If you do actually change your mind, I'm looking to actually, deploy some money, some capital into storage, and we pay full market value. We close quick and can pay cash if we need to." And then, you just kind of walk them through these different scenarios here of what that might look like. Scenario 3 is where you call the facility, the owner's not in, you leave a message, so on and so forth. So that is kind of the script that we typically go through when we are calling these businesses. So if we're calling storage, if we're calling mobile home parks, RV parks, laundromats, et cetera, it's going to look like this. Obviously, you want to kind of tweak it and make it your own, but you want to make sure you're hitting kind of these major key points here to get past that decision maker, to get the owner on the phone. Because at the end of the day, the most important part of this entire process is getting the owner, the decision maker, on the phone and actually, having that conversation to see if they want to sell their business. And that's why we actually started implementing making offers directly on the phone. So that way we know if they're, actually serious, or if we're in striking distance of actually, making a deal come together, and we don't waste anybody's time by making an offer right there on the spot. So, in a nutshell, that's essentially how I do this process. You'd follow the same thing if you are working mobile home parks, if you're working RV parks, if you are working other types of boring businesses, so like your laundromats, your car washes, etc. So as you can tell, there's quite a bit of information that we're gathering and quite a bit of things that are happening and putting them into this spreadsheet. I did this for months before realizing that I just cannot scale this accordingly if I really want to grow this and acquire these businesses. And, for my own sanity, just working out of a spreadsheet like this and remembering when to follow up with people, when to, make my phone calls, how the phone calls go. I wanted to text them and have recordings of those conversations. I needed some just more action, more actionable things that can be done inside of here, and more tracking and more metrics and things like that. So I actually developed an entire system that actually took this whole spreadsheet concept and took the concepts that I was showing you early in this video, and it makes it 100 times easier. And I just want to dive into it briefly to show you guys how you can use my system, my new system, the FuelPoint system, to make this entire outreach process 100 times easier. Now, keep in mind, you can use this old method that I just showed you guys, my method that worked and got me, tons of good, leads and deals. but it took me a very long time and it just wasn't super manageable or scalable for me. So that's why I created Fuel Point, and I'm going to dive into it and show you guys exactly how it can make your lives easier. So here you can see the Fuel Point system, and really what Fuel Point is it's a community of other like-minded individuals who are deal hunters. Like the people in this group are really focused on getting rock solid deals in off-market commercial properties. So your self-storage, mobile home park, RV park, boring businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And here, like, we all just kind of work together to kind of like share, ideas and strategies, what's working, what's not working. And then also within the community, I've put together like tons of learning resources where people can learn like high level concepts and really dive into like specifics. And, I didn't really walk you guys through how you're going to actually get a hold of these owners. So let's just say that, on this spreadsheet, we just called the business and we didn't actually get a hold of the owner. Now you have to go through and skip trace the owner of this business and go through that entire process. Fuel Point really makes it simple. So this is like our community component. We do weekly meetings. We hold each other accountable. There's a lot to the community aspect of this. But what is really exciting here is like the software that kind of ties like that spreadsheet that I was showing you guys into this like really crazy, awesome CRM system, follow-up system, automation, website for your business, all those sorts of things. But let's just say that we were going to do the same process that we were just doing for that Jameson Street storage in Bend, Oregon. And that was just one lead. It took us quite a while just to add that one lead into that spreadsheet. So what this tool is doing here is it's actually scraping Google Maps. So rather than you having to manually go through all of those leads, this is actually doing all of this for you. So you can put in the state and the city that you want, the lead type that you want, in this case, self-storage, and then click search on this, and it's going to show you all of those storage facilities where you want it. So right here is Jameson Street self-storage. So this is the lead that we were working right here. So all I have to do is click the check boxes on ones that I want to actually bring into the system. Click the check, whichever ones that I click the check on, I can bring it into the system and I can just sync in all that basic information from Google, or I can actually skip trace this stuff automatically. So I don't have to manually now skip trace the owners because I can get this owner contact information, the owner's email, cell phone, all that stuff by just skip tracing right here on these storage facilities. So I can do all the outreach and the contacts significantly easier on this. So then it's going to come over here to like my pipeline. And then once these folks are in my pipeline, my sales pipeline here, I can call them, I can text them, I can put in all the data that I was putting on that spreadsheet into this right here. So storage, how many, total units are in here, my occupancy levels. I can determine what the pros and cons, do my like basic underwriting here on these businesses. You can input like mobile home park data, like all this type of information that I was going to have to put on that spreadsheet. I can now put into the CRM and make it 100 times easier on myself. Pull up information on Google Maps, look at these businesses. Obviously, this is not a very desirable storage facility here. And then I can send direct mail. I can send out mailers, do all this crazy stuff. I can do all this follow-up. Like there's automation for my follow-up. So I'm reminded of when exactly to do my follow-up. So if we dive into like this pipeline for automation right here, it's actually crazy of like the things that you're going to do in here. Let's see, pipeline automations. We're under new pipeline automations. And here, like, let's just say that, you're calling someone and this happens all the time where you call someone and, no one returns your phone call. No one answers the phone. So I have all these automations that's built out that actually does all of this automation for you, like reminds you when to follow up, puts it into like a dialer system, text them, email them, all this stuff. And it's super simplified. It might look slightly complicated, but it's like super simplified. So all you really have to do is just look here on your pipeline and see all of the leads that, are in their respective categories. So we've got 58 interested leads in my system right now that have raised their hand and they said, hey, I want to sell the business. And it's really easy for when these guys are interested in selling because I can make offers to these storage businesses or these mobile home parks or, boring businesses just by knowing their gross monthly revenues. So let's just say that a storage facility says that their gross monthly revenues, when I'm talking to that seller on the phone, is 10,000. I know that I can offer that seller, because I'm buying storage right now between a 9 and 7 cap. I can tell the seller right there on the phone, like, hey, I can offer you between $867,000 to $1.1 million, which means that it just cuts down on that back and forth, and it makes it so I'm not wasting my time with a seller who's actually not interested. But if they are interested, I can actually send these guys an LOI right here from the system. And the more LOIs that I send out, the higher likelihood of actually getting a deal, right? Like, you want to send as many of these LOIs that you possibly can to get like your maximum, results from this, because you're never going to know like for sure what's going to happen. Even on some of these sellers that are like, oh, like I want this amount. And then you actually send them an LOI and get something in front of them. And they're like, oh, actually, this is like something that I could possibly work with. And we put people and categorize them in all these different pipelines. And the follow-up is the most important part. And that's what wasn't really working for me on this spreadsheet, is I could not categorize and follow up with these people accordingly. It just wasn't working. Whereas here, everything is beautifully organized into a pipeline, and the system automatically reminds you of when to follow up with who. So these new leads right here, mobile on the spot storage. So say that we call these guys and no one reached out, or no one responded, then we just drag these guys over to reached out, no response. So it's really easy for me to do my follow up and then to find, like, I want to filter these leads and like find out like on that data sheet, like I want to look at ones that like are elderly owners only, so I can filter these by elderly owners and then focus strictly on those types of leads. So FeelPoint is this crazy robust system, which it's really easy to use at the surface. And there's also a lot of features inside of it that we've put together. But more than that, we're a community that comes together and we talk every single week about what's working, what's not working. We help each other get deals in the system. And you can actually get virtual assistants that will do this stuff for you like all day, every single day. And so whether you're in storage or depending on whatever asset your class you're in, you can work these out of this system. So let's just say that we were in Georgia. Now, actually, I'm based out of Bend, Oregon. So let's just come back over to Bend, Oregon. And then let's see here. Let's say that I'm in Bend and I'm actually trying to buy car washes. So that's the boring business I'm interested in. So I come over here to car wash, lead type. So now what it's going to do, instead of me having to like manually go through that Google Maps, it's automatically going to find all the car washes in the area. So now I can work all these car washes and see if I can actually, get the owner to sell me one of these businesses. And it's going to be the same system and same process that I was showing you guys, that manual effort of doing all that. But you can just do this all automatically through FeelPoint. So I can click this guy, I can skip trace the owner, call the number at the front desk, get past that manager, and buy these businesses. I mean, there's so many opportunities out here, and no one is working leads like this. No one's actually, doing it like this. This is a significant advantage if you actually want to take getting into any of these asset classes serious. This is going to put you so far and be above and beyond the competition that you're really going to stand out, and you have a way better chance of, acquiring some of these assets versus the people that are trying to like get stuff on market, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. And if you're interested in learning more about FeelPoint and what kind of stuff that you can do on the system, what the community is all about, what other kind of features that you're getting included with this program, feel free to reach out to my team, and we would be more than happy to walk you through on a personal demo and how we think it can help you and if it would be a good fit. So thank you so much for watching this video on how to find off-market self-storage, mobile home parks, RV parks, and boring businesses. And even if you don't use FeelPoint, obviously you guys can see it's going to make your life 10 times easier and organize everything for you. Even if you don't use FeelPoint, if you just use the spreadsheet method, I still believe that you can get results. It's just like going to a gym and, you're going to the gym, but if you're not actually taking like all the necessary supplements and like all that kind of stuff, like you're probably not going to get like the results that you're wanting, especially like with your nutrition, if that's like out of whack. And then Feel Point is essentially taking all the right supplements, getting all the right nutrition, and having a personal trainer, and like basically taking steroids and amplifying that whole process and making it like way easier for you to get these deals. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you got value out of it, please feel free to like and subscribe.